The music news for the streets, the music news for your beats, the news for the music stuff that you gonna need. We gon' talk about plugins, we gon' talk about gear. If it's news on this music, we gon' talk about it here. Let's go.
What up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your guy, Some. Hit the keys. In today's video, I want to talk about our third-party VST plugins. Really important. I guess the short answer would be yes and no. The reason I say yes and no is because it all depends on your level of expertise. So I'll explain furthermore. I feel like if you are a beginner, third-party plugins are not the most important thing to you, especially if you got to purchase them. I say that because of many reasons, like you might not even stick with this music. I don't mean to hate on anybody. I don't mean to throw any salt or shade on anybody, but I wouldn't recommend investing a whole bunch of money into something that you're not even sure if you're gonna love in the long haul. And secondly, I say that because your DAWs are gonna come with a bunch of different plugins, whether it's synths or stock sounds or reverbs, EQs, and all that other stuff. And I would honestly recommend getting to know those before you went out and purchased any third-party VSTs. I know typically you always hear people say your DAW can do everything that you can get in a third-party plugin, and that is honest to God, not the truth. I'll give some examples on that later. But I would say if you are a beginner, get to know the stuff that's in your DAW because you need to learn how to get an EQ before you go out and spend $100 on the EQ. You need to learn how to put together melodies with different synths and stuff like that before you decide to go out and spend $100, $200, and $300 on a synthesizer plugin or something like that. Maybe if you have a background in music, so like let's say you're just getting into DAWs, but you play the piano, you know how to play the piano, you're classically trained, well then maybe a piano plugin might be a good investment for you because the stock piano plugin isn't going to sound better than most, you know what I'm saying, paid plugins. I will also say that you should experiment with free plugins. As you guys know on the channel, I may do a review or two on a free plugin, and I have all the free plugins that you need to check out. So I would definitely recommend starting there as a start point for a beginner, because again, you don't want to waste money on plugins you might not use, plugins you might not need, or plugins that you can substitute with free plugins. I would say if you are intermediate, so like let's say you're at the point to where now you're making music every day, maybe you sold a beat or two, or maybe you're doing live performances, or maybe you're working with artists and stuff like that. That might be the time where you should start investing in the third-party VSTs because a lot of third-party VSTs, they're ultimately going to give you different sounds. Most of them are, I don't want to say most of them, but a lot of them are going to sound better. So obviously, like something like Omnisphere is going to sound better than any of your stock synths. Any kind of paid plugin, like anything like Alicia's Keys or like the Piano Verse or anything like that, it's going to sound better than FL Keys, just being honest. Or like the guitars, like anything that you get in Flex just isn't going to be as good as the guitars that you're going to get in Contact 7 or something like that. So when you're ready to up your sound or you're ready to get plugins that are going to help your workflow, so like when you're looking to get plugins, like let's say something like Infiltrator or Shaperbox, yeah, you might be able to do some of that stuff with the modulations and the LFOs and all that stuff on effects in your DAW, but it's going to take you so much more time to do it. So, you know, I'm going to recommend at that point, maybe you should start looking into third-party VSTs. I would assume at this point you've already been using free plugins and now you're ready to get something that you think is a little bit nicer. I will always say that make sure you do your research before you guys do spend money. I know that I do plugin reviews on this channel. I don't say that you need every plugin that I review. That is not the goal of this channel. The goal is to provide you guys with a resource that you can use to check out before you guys do decide if you want to get any kind of reverb or any kind of effect or any kind of synth or anything like that. I do understand that there may be a reverb that I like, but other people may not like. And that's part of the reason why I will continue to do reviews because no different than somebody may like Coke, somebody may like Pepsi, somebody may like RC Cola, somebody may like Sam's Choice Cola. You know what I'm saying? Different flavors for different folks. And so I understand that. Once you get to the pro level, and I'm not saying necessarily pro to the point to where you're only making money off of music and that's your only job, but you can be pro as far as you've been making music for 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever the case is, and you're sick of the plugins that you're using, or you just understand that, hey, I want something that sounds better. Hey, I work with a bunch of my friends, I work with a bunch of different artists, I work with other people. They like these plugins. These other plugins are going to help me make money. Like some artists, they have to use auto-tune. They won't use Wavetune. They won't use Pitcher. They won't use any other kind of auto-tune. So the studio that they want to go to has to have auto-tune. So now, you know, you're getting third-party plugins because these third-party plugins are helping you make money. Or, you know, people are sending over project files and you're doing work together. Like, let's say you work with another producer all the time and he has Omnisphere and he's sending you over project files where you need Omnisphere to work with them or whatever the plugin is, you know, whether it's Waves plugins, whether it's Fab Filter plugins, whether it's Sound Toys. At that point, you're probably going to need to invest in some plugins because you're working with other people and it's just easier if you guys all have the same plugins. Plus, those plugins are going to do a lot more than you can typically do in your stock plugin. So now I just want to give you guys some kind of examples of what it is that I'm talking about. So as we see here, we're looking in FL Studio, and FL Studio does have a pretty decent reverb. So this Fruity Reverb 2 is pretty decent. I still use this often. I use this on like vocal chops, and I use it on different stuff when I'm just trying to find a quick reverb because I know how it sounds and I know how to edit it really quick. But these are all the controls you're going to get on this reverb. So there's other reverbs out there with other controls that are better. So let's take a look here at Shaperbox. So then we open up Shaperbox. They have this reverb shaper that's new. What's dope about this is you can draw the shape of the reverb. So you can draw how you want the reverb to sound on the actual sound. It's got all these different different designs and stuff down here that you can use, different rhythms. So you can click on it really quickly and you can easily draw how you want your reverb to sound. Trying to do this in FL Studio without having Shaperbox is going to take forever because it's going to take a lot of automation. It's going to take different instances of the reverb because as you look up here with this plugin, you can just easily click over here and you can put different reverbs on different bands. So now I can come over here and I can put one of these other reverb types on a different band, and then I can draw a different design on this so I can have the reverb hit differently. I can just do so much. It's got ducking features over here that you can mess with. It just has a whole bunch that you can mess with the reverb, and you just can't do this with a stock sound. So yes, like you could use something like Fruity Convolver, and then as we look here in Fruity Convolver, it's going to have all of these different reverb types. So you can use this to get the different reverb types that you want, but you're still gonna have to do a bunch of work in Patcher and with automation, and it's gonna take so much time. So part of using third-party plugins is that they save time and they allow you to do tasks that you may not be able to do in your DAW. Another example of this is right here as we look, you have hardcore. So hardcore would be your amp simulation in FL Studio. So hardcore has these effects, and this right here, you can basically put together your amp chain for your guitar. It has these effects right here, and then it has some presets. So it's gonna have 198 different presets. Not bad, it's a good start. But then when you look at that compared to something like a Guitar Rig 7, Guitar Rig 7 is going to have a ton of different presets. So as we look right here, it's got over 1,500 presets. And then when you click into one of these presets, it's going to have a bunch of different effects and stuff that you're not going to be able to have in just the regular hardcore. So it's going to have a bunch of different compressors. It's going to have a bunch of different delays. It's going to have a bunch of different sounds. It's going to have a bunch of different stuff. And then another thing that's nice about this is it's just going to have different tones and it's going to have different stuff with these presets. So like as you're clicking through this, as you see, like I said before, it's just got a bunch of different effects, different kinds of distortions, different kinds of fuzz. It's going to have lo-fi effects. It's going to have all kinds of stuff in like a guitar amp simulation that you just can't get with their stock plugins. And so as you see, we go to another preset. As you see here, it's just got all kinds of different effects again, like take wobble, replica. It's got a maximizer. Again, in order to get a lot of these tones that you're going to get with like something like Guitar Rig, It's going to take you a lot of time. And then plus, if you're like me, I'm not like a professional guitar player, so I don't even know how to get some of these tones because I've never heard them until I use guitar rig. It's not like I was out putting my guitar and a bunch of pedals, putting stuff together. And then the same thing is going to go for something like Amplitude. So as we open up Amplitude, you see here it has all of these different cabinets. So it's got all these different emulations of different cabinets that you can use. And this is just a ton. Everything for bass, everything from electric guitar, just all kinds of different cabinets. It's going to have all kinds of different presets over here. So when you click on this over here, you're going to see that you're going to get just a whole bunch of different presets. So you're going to get, a ton of different presets that you can use. And then with something like this, they also have ToneX, where ToneX has a cloud of different users who are uploading emulations of their gear. And there's over 100,000 different emulations. And that's just something that you can't beat and something that a third party VST will help you with. But as I said earlier, you got to make sure that you get to know the plugins in your DAW. Because as you get to know the plugins in your DAW, some plugins are going to be like vital tools for you that you will always use. And one of those tools for me is Fruity Delay 3. This is my favorite delay plugin. So out of every delay plugin that I have, and I have a ton of third-party delays, paid delays, all that other stuff, I always find myself coming back to this delay. It just sounds good. It's got a few different presets in it, but the thing about this is that you get control over your modulation over here, which you can do a lot of cool stuff, and you get control over feedback distortion. But this is just a really good sounding delay. I love it. I always use it. It's my favorite delay. And then another plugin that I use all the time is Fruity Parametric EQ2. So yes, there's other EQs that can do more than this one, but this one gets the job done. It's a pretty good EQ. But if I'm not using this one, I'm using Ozone 11, which is now a free EQ that you can grab as well. That one's solid too. But this is just a pretty transparent EQ. It's good, solid. It's goated. Another plugin that I use all the time would be this Fruity Love Filter, just a solid filter plugin. And these are all stock plugins. If I didn't get to know my DAW and get to know my plugins, then I wouldn't be using these all the time. I wouldn't have been able to save some money, you know what I'm saying, by using these. I will say that with these plugins, though, there are things that they can't do. Like there are other delays out there that have other effects on them, like phasers and distortion, and just all kinds of different stuff on there. Flanger, just all kinds of different effects on there that give you cool sounds that you can add stuff on. But just a straightforward delay, this is the one for me. Now, I will say that I do think that nowadays these DAWs do have some fire sounds in them, some good plugins, some good synths. I think FL Studio has some of the best sounds, but Ableton has good sounds. Logic has some great sounds. Luna has some great sounds. But there is a time when you might want to go ahead and get some third-party VSTs, and that's when you're looking at emulations of other synths. So like something like this Arturia V collection, this is just something that just can't be emulated by your DAW. It's going to take you a lot of time in order to emulate sounds in a Korg or a Prophet or an OP or like the CS80. Like all these are specialized plugins that all emulate certain old school gear, like the Jupiter 8 and just all of these sounds. So for me, you're not really going to get that in a DAW. Like DAWs may have one or two emulations of these old school synths, but a lot of people say things like, well, you can just design that or you can do sound design in order to get the sound that you're looking for. But a lot of people who are buying third-party plugins, they don't know how to design anything that sounds like a Jupiter 8 or sounds like authentically like a lot of these pieces of equipment that, Arturia is emulating. So the point of this video isn't to necessarily to tell you guys to go out and buy VSTs or plugins. It's just giving you use case scenarios of when would be the time to get them or when should you get them or should you not. So like as we look here back at FL Studio, Harmor is a fire synthesizer. You can do a lot with this synth. FL Studio does have some pretty good synths like Sakura, Harmless, just some good stuff that you can use in the DAW. But as you look at this, you can only do so much with this, right? So again, it's solid. But then trying to compare this to something like, Omnisphere, because Omnisphere might be a synth that you're looking into. But with Omnisphere, you can do so much more. You're going to get so many more presets. You're going to get like 10,000 presets, right? You got this main page right here where you can do some controlling of the synth. Then you can get underneath the hood. So now you see here, you got 4 different oscillators that you can control. You can layer up to 8 different sounds in this thing, which is solid. You got different filters, you got cutoff, you got resonance. You just got a bunch of stuff you can control. You can control your shapes and stuff down here, your symmetry. And then you can come over here and you have other controls in your oscillators. So you have like FM controls. You have ring modulation controls. You have a wave shaper. You have unison controls. You have this harmonia. You have a granular control. And then over here, you have different effects. And so what makes this solid is that you get all of these solid different effects. So you get different EQs, you get filters, you get distortions. You just get a bunch of different stuff that you can add in here. So boom, now you've got all these third party basically effects that come in this DAW. And then you also have this arpeggiator, which is solid too, and it's going to have a bunch of different presets for arpeggiators and stuff like that. We can check out another synth. So let's check out Pigments, another synth that I absolutely love. As you see here, Pigments looks pretty high tech, and with Pigments, you can take and you can drag and drop modulations wherever you want. So you see how this stuff is turning purple and it's showing purple? Well, you can put that modulation on envelopes, LFOs, anything that you want to do. You can use different engines from wavetable to analog to samples, harmonic. It's got 2 different engines. You see down here, you get a whole bunch of different controls over VCAs, LFOs. You can add your own function. You can randomize stuff. And then down here at the bottom, as you click the different stuff, you can see how it's moving. You have 2 different filters over here, which is fire. You just get a whole bunch of different controls. You get macro controls. Then you can come underneath the hood. You get different effects that you can use. Then you have a sequencer over here. So you have an arpeggiator and a sequencer, just a solid synth. And then you got free options right here. So you got something like Vital, and Vital is probably more in depth than any stock synth you're going to get as well, because you can obviously put LFOs wherever you want to. You can put envelopes wherever you want to. It's going to come with different effects too, as well. As you can see here, it's got mod matrix, it's got advanced controls, it's got all kinds of different controls and just all kinds of different stuff that you can do. So ultimately, I just wanted to make this video because I wanted to talk about the difference between third-party VSTs, stock plugins, free plugins, and who needs what, because again, not everybody is going to need third-party VSTs. I can't stress this enough. I've said it a few times in the video, and I just want to make sure I say it again. I feel like if you are a noob, if you're new at doing this, hold off, pump the brakes on buying any plugins. Make sure you get to know the stuff in your DAW so you can know what you're doing. If you've been around for a little bit, you're intermediate, make sure you're checking out all the free stuff before you're getting into buying it, because you might not need to buy a piano if you find one that you like, or you might not need to buy a synth if you're into Vital and you can kill it with Vital, or like the OBX emulation, or any of the other DAW or free synths that are out there. And then if you're a pro, you've been doing it for a while, and you just want to make your workflow easier, you want to experiment with different stuff, you want to work a different way, third-party plugins might be the way to go. So that's what I got for you guys today. Make sure if you guys do like this content, though, you drop a whole elbow on that like button, hit subscribe and that notification bell, so every time we bring you guys a new video, you can be the first to see. Appreciate you guys' time as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Oh, you like how I burped in the middle of saying peace, huh? And I'm keeping that in the video.
Some, hit the key.